Dart.
We are late.
Dart.
We are late.
Dart. Damn you.
Yeah,
Sorry about that, guys. Brew and I haven't talked in a while. We had a long.
it's been what, like a week or two?
Oh my God. We did. Well, we
It's
did.
been a while, dude.
I thought we were gonna do a Monday lineup show, and then you texted me. You were like, "Dude, lineups don't set today." Crap.
Yeah, it was funny too because on the Sunday lineup show or the Sunday waiver wire show, I was like, "Yeah, you know what? We ain't got no show, Monday. It's gonna be Thursday." And I know why I'm screwed up. I've been doing tech stuff for like the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, wait a minute. Don't talk about that yet. I want that to go on the actual recorded part of this pod. You know what?
All right, I'll shut up.
I want to spend some time on Hoob Ball version 1.2. I just want that to be something that everybody gets to hear, not just the pre-show guys. The pre-show guys get to hear us talk about weird stuff. That's what they've come for.
Yes. That's been proven abundantly true.
Hey, you know what's cool is that we're wearing the same clothes.
Well, I'm wearing a hoodie. I don't know why you're not. It's cold as hell up here. Apparently it's cold down there.
It is freezing. My hoodie's a tiny bit too big. I didn't want to complain because Adrian's doing such a nice job of putting all these things together.
But aren't they such good quality?
Oh, dude, the shirt feels great.
It's crazy. He's like, he's a shirt guy out of Huntington Beach. I lived there for a year or two, and there's like a surf scene and a clothing scene, and it's it's a scene, right? And he's like, yeah, hey, you know what? I'm a part of the scene. And he's like, these shirts, they're going to be excellent quality. And I don't know why I'm giving him an accent, but I just am. You know what it is? Because his I don't know. He goes by Yo Adrian. That's why I'm doing it.
That's his login on the Hoob, isn't it? I've seen that.
Well, you're not supposed to say that because now you can get hacked. His username is Yo Adrian, and then his password is password.
His 1 2 3 4 5 is the password.
Sorry. So no, I was like, all right, I expect some good quality with this stuff, but it's like absurdly good quality. I mean, this hoodie. First of all, I've been wearing it a little bit too much this week.
So it's a little dank. You got a little bit of.
You know what? I smell like championships. But it's like such good quality, man. Like it is nice, and the shirt, it's just nice, man. So, he's part of scene.
I love it. It's a scene, man. Is all I can think. It's a scene, man. Yeah. So were you giving him like the Rocky accent?
I was. That was the total. That's my crappy. You know what? I'm not like you, Dan. I can't do every impression that there ever was.
Then you guys have said Hoop Ball logo T.
Yeah.
I'm always afraid when I tell you to do impressions that you're going to do that one impression that you know.
That's my favorite. I can't do it. I can't do it right now. Kids are freaking awesome these days. I'm not going to do an impersonation of a character that's a pedophile. The kids will save the world. I love them.
Yeah, I love those kids. The Stoneman Douglas kids. They just
are. And listen, like I feel like we're gonna get blasted for talking about loving the Stoneman Douglas kids, but they are across the spectrum, regardless of what they're working for. That is like, when my child grows up, God love it. I hope he doesn't have to experience a tragedy to get to this point, but I would love it if Asher, when he's 16, 14, whatever years old, is just like, you know what, I'm gonna get politically active. That's freaking unbelievable.
We at my high school, it's been a long time since this happened. So I can kind of look back at this a little bit more soberly than at the time. One of our best friends passed on like the last 2 weeks of school. So kind of like a lot of these kids at Stoneman, this is the end, kind of their year, not really quite all the way at the end of the year, but he got hit by a car. And if you look into the Johnny Gomes story, it was a pretty intense thing. And our school was paralyzed. We had a good 1,500 kids at the school, and everybody was paralyzed. It took over. And that is one kid dying out of, outside of the school that, to compare it with 17 mowed down by an AR-15, like I just can't imagine the shock that those kids are in. And for them to go out on national TV, stand on a stage in the middle of thousands of people and go toe to toe with Cruella DeVille and you know, all of her training to essentially be a, you know, a liar of sorts, you know, to be able to misdirect and handle things and go with talking points and basically a linguist, you know, at best, and stand toe to toe with the kind of, these are the best of that kind of a world. Like those kids,
champions.
They're just, you know, they're like heroes to me when you think about they stand for something. They stand for what they believe in. They stand for what's right. And they do that at the highest level. Wow.
Can you even imagine, like, I mean, I know that's what you said, but if I was on that type of stage as a 16-year-old kid, I would not have been able to say a word. I think I'm actually a pretty good public speaker, and that would have overwhelmed me in a way that I can't even fathom. Like the full dry mouth, possibly some puking.
They have a lot of adrenaline. I mean, I was actually I was like the go-to person at my school for, like, if anybody ever died, like, and somebody needed to speak in public about it in like a weird setting like that, I was the go-to, and it was adrenaline that got me through that, because now I'd just be like completely freaked out. Push mouth and all of that. And I remember really clearly it was the adrenaline of the moment that got you through it, but it was also the, you know, the authenticity that you felt as a young person. And that's what these kids are exuding. Their authenticity is off the charts. And you've got these, you know, 30, 40, 50-year-old adults that are standing there on stage next to them in their completely sort of like cynical now, you know, viewpoints that are tainted with the, you know, the positions that they've adopted. And you could hear, you know, Rubio talking like he believes in himself, but it was like one of those sad displays of what have I become, you know, with a kid that's authentic, that's just been through all of that, speaking truth to power, and watching Rubio and the NRA lady, you know, completely just kind of wilt under the pressure, just sort of standing there, letting the moment be bigger than them. It was stunning. It was really stunning. And yeah, you know, all the props in the world out to those kids. I can't thank them enough for being great arbiters of the human spirit.
Yeah, go kids. Go kids. We like to complain about you listening to your crazy music with your auto tunes, but you're
what do kids even do these days? I don't even know. I'm getting old, Dan.
Yeah, we're well beyond that. All right, let's do a show. Let's say we do a show about basketball, since basketball is back again.
I'm down for that. You gotta be an old man to know that reference.
Did you see me do the Wayne's World? That's how we're going to start today's show. Welcome to Fantasy NBA Today, live on Friday, everyone. I am Dan Besbris. I tried something different, and it looks stupid, but I'm going to do the show without messing with any of the lights anyway. I turned off the room lights, and I turned on a fluorescent light, and that's the problem. I think I need, like, soft lighting on me here on my desk, but I feel like I'm moving in the right direction. I'm Dan Besbris, at Dan Besbris on Twitter, and I have always, of course, joined on Fridays by El Arquitecto, Aaron Bruski. I really wanted to lean into that one, at Aaron Bruski on Twitter. This is a hoop ball presentation. They all are, people. You should know that by now. Aaron, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir. You really leaned into that. I feel really, you know, warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
Such a great introduction.
How was that on the scale of, like, terrible seventh grader taking his first high school Spanish class, and then at the opposite end, the good end of the spectrum? I should tell you, there's the bad end, not that clear.
I kind of felt like you were introducing some sort of like evil villain from a Disney movie.
Oh, I was going for like telenovela, like El Arquitecto. How could you?
How many telenovelas do you watch in a week, Dan?
I honestly wish that the honest answer to that question was a bunch. I think that would have been a fun way to.
It's
like, oh, by the way, my secret
experience, man.
It's a scene. My my vice is not telenovelas, but I always thought that I was pretty good at doing that. Brew, did you ever watch Pablo Francisco's comedy? He was like a
maybe. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing half the time, but
so everybody in the world is familiar with Frank Caliendo because for a decade he dominated sports comedy, doing all of his John Madden impersonations and whatnot. Pablo Francisco was like the non NFL on Fox branded impersonation comedy, and he has a really good bit about telenovelas. He also does a really cool bit about the movie guy voice, and he's like, that guy can make any movie intro cool, and he does a whole thing about a film he creates in his mind called Little Tortilla Boy. So I would strongly suggest that everybody go watch.
You know what's actually I like to do is just turn on like Pandora or something on one of the comedy channels. It's like especially in this day and age, you just sit there and fly away with comedy. You don't have to. You just don't live in reality and just listen to comedy all day.
Plus, flying away is legal in California now, so that's cool.
That's not what we're calling it now.
I thought that's what you were talking about. Welcome back to basketball, everyone. It's good that we finally have games again, Brew. That was a long week off.
I was looking at those box scores last night. Like I was really eager to just dive into box scores, and I caught myself going, "Yeah, the addiction is back."
Yeah,
it always is like this. I guess I shouldn't say always. Only the last 2 years have had this long week break, but I mean, you get a little break or a big break now, and you recharge the engines, and you're making that final playoffs run, and it's exhilarating. I'm fired up to. I released the Bruski 150. Doing all that stuff was really eye opening on a lot of different buy low opportunities. We saw one hit last night. My God, how long on this show have I been telling you guys to buy low on Buddy Hield? I'm so happy about that one. I feel like a lot of people got a difference maker there. And that's what you got to uncover some difference makers. If your team is gliding wherever first, second, third, fourth, fifth, you still got to get that difference maker.
So let me ask you this. While we're talking about the Kings, we can just jump right into it because they're one of the teams on my list for today's show. And for those uninitiated, our Friday shows, I have a list of a few things to talk about with Brew. The list is not as long this week as usual, simply because there hasn't been anything this week. But there's still a few things on there, and then we'll take questions from the YouTube chat room. I would suggest all of you come and join us the next time we do a live show, and it's on Friday. It's always on Friday. Why is Zach Randolph playing 40 minutes, Brew? 40.
The stat or the box score for that game last night was all over the place. So I don't trust that it was 40 minutes, but I watched it and it could have easily been 40 minutes. I don't know, man. I've been warning everybody on this one for like a year and a half, 2 years now. Like when Matt Barnes was playing, Matt Barnes would throw the ball in the 15th row or jack a ridiculous three or make a ridiculously bad defensive play and get 25 minutes while other better players weren't getting minutes. And, then I said before this offseason, hey, maybe don't pick up all these veterans, that aren't good for development. I mean, it's like giving a crackhead crack is what you're giving a guy like Dave Yeager. When you give him veterans, he can't not play them. And so it's not like I didn't predict this 5 million times before the season started. And it's not like I didn't predict that it would impinge the growth of players like Buddy Hield, who's been incredibly inconsistent for the second third of the season. You're seeing somebody like Bogdan Bogdanovic, who's capable of running a team, who's basically any basketball mind is like, hey, this guy could be the focal point of this team. And, you don't put him out there and let the team develop around him. We've been prepping everybody for this for years. And so, like, Scal had great minutes last night, but can Dave Yeager and the Kings get off of the veteran stuff? And I don't know that they can. I'm not clear. I think that Scal's going to get minutes. I think it's going to be less than everybody wants. I think that, you know, the players that are in the log jams are going to get less minutes than they should. And then the function of the offense, that's the biggest thing for me, is like, you know, Zach Randolph runs around like he's a number one player still, you know, posting up, you know, demanding screens be set, or he will go set the screens. And it's not the kind of flowy offense that you want with these types of players that can really do some stuff, but they're going to all have to figure out how to do that over the summer, which, you know, players don't really play together over the summers that much. They're going to have to figure out next season on the floor over the course of the first 20, 40 games. And it feels like they could have been doing that 2 seasons ago with some of these guys. So I just kind of crack up because there's like a resistance in the Kings sort of world to like admitting that that has been the case, or it is the case, or it will be the case. And it just happens every year in Sacramento. Whatever the team is pitching to the masses, it never pans out. And it's always the exact opposite of what ends up happening. And every year there's like, it's like, surprise, it didn't happen. It's a surprise. It wasn't good for you guys. Surprise. So I kind of crack up with that. But I mean, to the things that we've been telling you guys to do, buy low on Buddy Hield, buy low on Bogdan, you know, get Scal ready to go. Like he's locked in. You know, as far as I'm concerned, as a standard league asset, like Scal is a must-own player. There's too much upside there to pass up on. Willie Cauley-Stein is another guy that was really bad in this first game, but keeping in mind, first games back from all-star games are not ones that you want to put a ton of measurement into. But those players are your key players there. And then the question is just going to be, are they going to be good for you, or are they going to be great? And I do think that Hield's got top 50 upside still.
So is there any way that they can slow down Zebo? How do you pull back on him at this point?
Honestly, it's going to have to, it's like a full organizational effort, because there's no like oversight. You know, last night, Vince Carter played a great game, but then he comes down and he jacks up a 40-foot three at 8 seconds. I mean, I get it. Like, if I'm Vince is what, 40 now, like 41 maybe. Like, I get it. Like he's got the ball and he's like, when am I gonna really have this chance to hit a game-winning three? You know, with the clock running down, this might be my last shot at it. And wink, wink, the team might not mind if I brick this thing and we lose another game. Like, I get it. But like, what does it say to, like, how are you going to be a hard ass on Scal, or be a hard ass, you know, with any of these young players? And then this guy goes and jacks a 40. I mean, it was 40 feet, Dan. It was 40 feet. It was the most hilarious end game I've ever seen. Because basically it went like this. Vince brings the ball up down 2. He shoots a 40-footer with 8 seconds on the clock. Basically airballs it. It skips out. You know, Garrett Temple bricks a shot, and then the rebound lands right into Justin Jackson's hands to tie it and send the game. What they thought would go to overtime, but then, of course, Russell Westbrook, you knew he was going to make the shot with like 1 second left, because that's how the Kings lose games, and that's the way that they've always lost games. But it's just, I think you got to, if Dave Yeager's unwilling to do it, then the general management has to say, hey, look, you're the coach, but this has got to stop. So you make the calls, but realize we're evaluating you. And, you know, this is like management 101, but we'll see. Not a great first game coming back from the break, if you ask me, you know, with all those old guys playing. And it is what it is, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Man, that's a weird one with Zebo. All right,
but we predicted it, Dan. It's not that weird. It's entirely predictable.
It surprised me that it's still that it's still happening. That like we're gonna have a youth movement, and then they went to the oldest two guys they
You
could
go listen to my pods on CSN and like listen to them throughout the summer and leading into this year, and then go. You know, I'm not saying you go do this because obviously you don't have any time to do this. But if you were a Kings fan and you listen to the warnings, there you go. That's what they are.
All right, well, let's stay left, and then we'll go right. We're going coast to coast here. Normally, I start East Coast and go west. We'll go the opposite way on this one. The Clippers. Avery Bradley just feels like he's a lost cause, which we tried to warn everyone in the offseason that it was going to be a rough year. I don't think you and I even thought it was going to be this rough. Like, we thought it wasn't going to be good because he wasn't going to be able to rebound on a team that can rebound, but he's just been a disaster. Who holds value in the Clippers' backcourt moving forward? Because it's a bit of a logjam.
Now I'm wishing that I had actually accepted that trade way back when I thought the guy left it out there like he forgot, and I didn't want to take Lou Williams off his hands, as he was good. I was being a good guy about it because Lou Williams is just going to be the man. Top 20 type numbers. Like, he's one of the great stories of this year. So he will have value. Not sure that Milos had a decent game last night. He had 5 money counters last night. So I think that he's not somebody I'm running out to go pick up because he's got injury issues and it's unclear if he's going to be able to have the minutes to keep anything good up. Austin Rivers could have some late round value there. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's kind of status quo with that group, even with Avery Bradley's injury. Like, that to me is kind of how it's always sat. And I think that's how it's going to continue sitting going forward. Avery's injury brings him to a point where I think folks can consider him kind of a zero, going forward. So it's an interesting story with Avery. He's dealing with off the court issues, and he's also, this groin stuff, and his injury history in general has not been good. So I kind of look at, what does Avery Bradley have to play for? Yeah, they're in a playoff chase, but let's see what happens, with the injury, and then we'll go from there.
I got an interesting question on Twitter earlier this week. You reminded me of it, asking about, who were some of my big hits and misses this year in fantasy sports. And my initial inclination was to say, here's a guy that I thought was going to have a nice season that didn't pan out, or here's a guy that I thought was going to have a nice season and it went really well. But then I stopped sort of after I recorded the show and thought, man, I could have done like another 45 minutes on that. Sometimes it's actually more important to get the ones right where you tell people to avoid certain guys, right? That counts as a hit. When we went on air and said, Avery Bradley's going to be a disaster for you this year, let somebody else deal with that. Save somebody a pick, that gives them at least a chance of kind of hitting that thing. So some point down the line, Brew, we'll wait till the season's over. We'll do a show where we talk about some of the headaches avoided.
We evaluate our picks here. Every year we go, look at let's say 150, 200 picks and figure out how many were we off by. It's important. And it kind of is a game of, you had 150. Let's go with the number 150 since I did release the Bruski 150 for the postseason here.
A nice round number.
Yeah. There's kind of an argument to be made is like each slot is weighted, say by X. It's not all slots are weighted equally. If you miss in the first round, it's costing you more than if you miss in the second round, and so on down the line. But where do your recommendations hit on each of those picks? And it's painful sometimes to look at. I'll tell you what. I mean, like, I was aggressive with Kawhi. I hope you guys didn't listen to me.
It's funny you said that because right as you said it, someone in the forum posted, it's our boy Beans. He said, I avoided Kawhi because Dan told us about the quad pre-draft. And I'm sure I went on there like, me.
Oh, God, yeah. I thank you, actually. I'm like, I hope you guys listen to Dan Besbris on that one because I wanted to gamble there. And it obviously, I honestly think that might be the worst fantasy pick of all time. I mean, a first or a second rounder that not only doesn't play, but stays on your roster all year.
That is true. That's the only thing worse than a first or second rounder that gets hurt 5 minutes into the season, Gordon Hayward. But I agree with you, though.
No, I mean, but at least you drop Hayward, and then you recover and you go from there. That's a weird situation. I mean, like, it's weird enough to where it's now league-wide news. Like, what has happened with Kawhi, the distance between the camps, and this is a banner franchise that never has had this stuff, or at least not that we've heard of, and not in a recency. So it's, you have your great picks, you have some duds, and I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over the Kawhi thing. I mean, it is what it is. Like, the injury could happen to anybody, and you got to beat 11 other teams. That's the other thing about this. Unless you're playing with lower end competition. Like, when I'm making my drafts, or my lists, I'm preparing for big money. I'm preparing for people to know what they're doing. I'm preparing to have to take a few chances to beat those guys. And so maybe if you say you're an intermediate league or lower, there's a lot more incentive to play it safe, I think. So that's an interesting game theory discussion right there.
So on the Spurs thing, because this is on the list, it's later on the list since they're not on the left coast, but we're going to jump straight ahead because Kawhi came up. I tried to practice what we preach on this show and take a step back from the Pop comments. I
got theories on that.
Phrasing, yeah, it's a little tinfoil hatty, but at the same time, I don't think it's that. This is like somewhere in between no hat and tinfoil hat. So Pop said that he wouldn't be surprised if Kawhi Leonard didn't play the rest of the year. So he flipped in some negatives just to make sure that things get good and murky. Doesn't this feel, and on the same day, by the way, that the Woj story comes out, that Kawhi Leonard is healthy, and the only reason he's not playing is because he's not comfortable playing through the injury. So the doctors have given him the go-ahead. That is
so funny that we're talking about this right now. Jeff McDonald tweets of the San Antonio Express News tweets, Pop says he's changing the starting lineup tonight in Denver, but won't say exactly how. Guess away, everybody.
Yeah. So doesn't it feel like this is the Spurs Hail Mary? Like they've been
yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that you nailed it right on the head there. So, like, put yourself in Pop's position. Like, all you're getting are the feelers that this isn't going to happen, right? And you're frustrated. Your doctors have said, look, you're clear. And there's quotes. I think it was Steve Smith or it was Grant Hill who said, if you're cleared by the doctors, you're good to go. Like, you should be out there playing. Sort of that culture of play through injuries.
Which is crazy because we're talking Grant Hill.
Grant Hill, right? But and I think a lot of that's changed too. Like, I think a lot more people are playing the long game here. And a friend of the show, Drew Dinkmeyer, tweeting at Jeff McDonald, my guess is he just meant Aldridge is back, and thus it's different than last game. The guessing game with what Pop says has always been part of the San Antonio problem in fantasy leagues. But if you're Pop, we're putting ourselves in Pop's shoes here. It doesn't look good. You have no downside into saying a sort of kind of like throw your hands up in the air type statement of like, I don't think we're going to see him back. And pinging the ball across to Kawhi's court, because he's got a team to coach, and he can't be putting Kawhi in at the 5-game mark and really feeling good about it from a coaching perspective. He wants at least 10 games to get him going, and preferably 20. And that's where we're at right now. And I think that might have been a message to Kawhi and his camp, like, hey, like, poop or get off the pot. I didn't want you to have to bleep me. But I know you would.
I would believe that. But the expression but get off the pot really just
have a bowel movement or get off of the thing that contains the bowel movement.
Yes.
I think that was the original saying, and it just got shortened down so millennials could
That's
than I
right.
understand
The toilet did in the early 19th century. It was definitely called the BM cup.
BM or get off the chamber pot. And so, I mean, this is, I think, like, so when I ranked Kawhi, like, I was sitting there thinking, all right, you know, how do you rank a guy with first round value when we don't know nothing about when he's coming back? And it's like, well, you know, what, resting through the All-Star break, that makes sense. You know, so what if you get him back 5 games after the All-Star break? First rounder, you know, where do you put him? You know, so I had him in like the 40-50 range. And then this came out and it's like, where do I rank him now? Well, you know, I'd like a chance at first round value if I'm in a playoff format, especially, you know, so maybe I'll put him at like 110 or something, or 100. It's so hard to rank this guy and what it would do to guys like, so I basically ended up making this big adjustment because of that news that hit. And I ended up having to put LaMarcus Aldridge way up, Kyle Anderson way up. Who else? Like Danny Green a little bit further up. You know, it's such a big piece for them, and we'll see. I have no idea how this is going to play out.
Yeah, it's certainly something.
I don't think anybody in San Antonio knows how this is going to play out.
It's a goofy one. The advice I gave on a podcast earlier this week was if you're in a playoff format, you hold him until your first round starts. If he's still not playing, then you can't have dead weight on your roster. And if you're in a roto league, you sort of, I mean, if you're fighting and you need that roster spot, then you do kind of have to part with him. But if you've held him all year, you sort of have to see how this Hail Mary plays out. Just wait a little bit longer. You know, give as much leash as you can. You know your situation better than we do. If you can't roster an injured player right now, then obviously you move on. But if you can, try to forget the drama that got you to this point and just say, okay, we just got word that he might miss the rest of the regular season. We don't have anything definitive. Under normal circumstances, if I got word that somebody might be out, I'd probably stand pat for at least a little bit longer.
Yeah, I would say, look, this is the last step of the puzzle, I think. This, because of them being so adamant that he can't just return later on, like, and being put on notice. I mean, this is being talked about on all the stupid talk shows, being talked about on the stupid talk shows that we're doing right now.
Yeah, this stupid talk show.
I mean, it's made it all the way to us. No,
Stupid.
This is the stuff we traffic in. But like when it makes it to the, you know, the Skip Baylesses of the world and everything that, you know, goes with that, that is, you know, it's big. It's big for Kawhi. His reputation is taking a hit. Like on TNT last night, they talked about it, and it's like, Kawhi, you owe it to the Spurs to kind of get out in front of this and be like, okay, hey, no, I am hurt. Like nobody has heard from him, and it leaves it all open to speculation, and nobody looks good right now in San Antonio. So the question I got asked by your friends over at Wager Talk was, is there any, you know, idea of that he could be leaving San Antonio? And I think there is, you know, I think that there's a lot of question about his next contract, and just look at Isaiah Thomas for what can happen if you have the wrong thing happen to you before you sign your deal.
Yep. So he better get out in front of it, and he's running out of time, which is why we said hold on just a tiny bit longer, because he's going to have to do something, and it's going to probably put a pin on one side of the fence or the other. He's going to be playing or he's not going to be playing, and hopefully we'll know soon. I'll hit you with a couple more teams here, and then we'll get into questions. I don't want to make people wait too long. I am going to eliminate a couple of the teams that I had on the list because they are less interesting and go straight to the ones that are most interesting. The New York Knicks. They are interesting right now. They are not interesting necessarily as a basketball team. You know, they had a battle with other terrible basketball team yesterday, and they won it. But they appear to have gone to a youth movement. They said they were going to go to youth movement, and then they actually did it, which is counterintuitive because we just talked about the Kings 10 minutes ago. So sometimes they say it, and then these things can happen. We saw decent-sized minutes from young guys in New York in their first game out of the All-Star break. Trey Burke got real hot and played 30 minutes. Tim Hardaway Jr. played 34 minutes because they signed him to a big contract, and he's finally healthy. He's going to have some rope. Michael Beasley only played 22 minutes despite starting the game yesterday. Courtney Lee only played 14 minutes, and his Cantor 21. Frank Ntilikina hit the 30-minute mark. He was 13 seconds shy, on that. And Emmanuel Mudiay logged 23 minutes in yesterday's game. What do you make of the Knicks situation going forward?
I think they really want Trey Burke to play. I got a question last night from a TV personality that loves fantasy basketball, and it was all about this. So this is fresh on the brain. The idea that Scott Perry wants Trey Burke to really be successful, I think it's driving this. And when he's responding and he's having good games, it's just going to feed that more. So if you have three players in Burke and Ntilikina and Mudiay, and you give them all of the point guard, shooting guard minutes, that's 96 divided by 3. That's 32 minutes right there. But that's not going to happen. So you're going to have Tim Hardaway Jr. playing shooting guard. You're going to have Courtney Lee playing more than he played last night. And I told him, I said, look, I think that the minutes are Dan, you're not allowed to text me while I'm talking. The minutes
phone in the middle of your thought. You look when I'm talking.
Both of y'all, you know who you are, and stop texting me, damn it. I'm like Homer Simpson. That dog has a puffy tail. I get distracted on anything. Did you know that Trump spoke twice in one day? I haven't listened to any of it, and it's good for my health.
Oh, he's Malcolm Turnbull.
It's a very distinguished,
Turnbull
leadership name.
Sorry, the Knicks.
So they're going to play those guys. So I told him, I said, look, you're going to get probably at best 25 minutes per game out of Burke, and then look at his stat set. He's not a stat set guy. So Burke is going to have to be so good in order for him to have value, but he's going to, I think, cut into the potential for guys like Ntilikina and Mudiay. Mudiay had kind of a Mudiay line, which was a low-end popcorn line, not a great money-counting line. I think he has money-counting potential. He's not shy taking threes. But, I think it's going to be tough for all of these players. I don't have any of them highly ranked. I don't even have Burke in the top 200.
Did you see how bad the Orlando defense was in yesterday's game?
Oh, it was. And if you look at the box score for that game, by the way, like none of that is really duplicatable.
The Knicks went on an insane dunk fest. Was that the second quarter or the third quarter? I can't remember which one it was, but it was just like every time down the floor they got a layup or a dunk, and I thought Frank Vogel is already bald, so I don't know what other hair the dude can yank out. That guy. I feel for Frank.
Did you see the thing on Evan Fournier's rapid baldness?
Oh,
I saw how bald he was the other day, and I was like, and I know a thing or two about balding,
Yeah, look at the size of this forehead. It's growing every day.
But, that was just so... There was like a before and after that was like from December or something.
Yes, I talked about this on the pod. What, is there a story? Do we know? Is there like an alopecia thing involved?
I don't know. And I mean, I'll just say this, being bald is a strength for me.
Not me. I want my hair. Don't leave me.
Without my hair, an advantage. And, I'll just leave it at that. It's an advantage, but like so I think the defense was bad in that game, and you're not looking at those numbers as hard and fast. But quickly on Ntilikina, I was actually encouraged. So I have these situations where Ntilikina basically can't be dropped until Sunday, so I'm kind of stuck with him, and through various free agent acquisition budget plays, like I still have him in places. And so seeing the money counting stats from that game defensively, especially, it reminds me that, hey, there's a stat set potential here, which he does this, and then he will also have really low stats, indicative of a guy that really shouldn't be held for upside. So he kind of got a pass from me for this particular game. He's on like a game-to-game limit. I'd love to believe the Knicks, but they sound like a team whose leadership has their guys, and Ntilikina is not one of them. And so that just makes me not that bullish on Ntilikina's future.
Bullish, you say? How about that's the next team we go to? Chicago Bulls. They went into I mean, could they? If Mark Cuban's got to pay $600,000,
they should be fined for that. I'm sorry. That is, you're taking one of your better players from this year, in Justin Holiday, and you're just like, you're benched now.
He's not even an old guy. Is he?
That's the thing.
Justin Holiday a veteran now?
If I'm the NBPA, I'm looking at a complaint there, which sucks because you put the burden on Holiday to do that. And I don't want to be the squeaky wheel. I could easily be kind of blacklisted if I go that far. But really, you're saying, hey, buddy, you're not going to play, which is going to reduce your earnings potential down the road because you don't get a chance to show more consistency. And I'm just shocked at that. I mean, Robin Lopez, he's probably better off not taking on the mileage.
Right.
And maybe you do get Felicio into shape and see what he can do. But this is just blatant tanking. And then they were competitive last night, which kind of goes to, anything to muddy the waters these days.
Well, it speaks to the, like, you give a guy an opportunity and they're ultra hungry, they're going to come out with more fire than the opposition. But,
you get told that, oh, you're tanking. Like, let's prove everybody wrong. We're good, too.
Exactly. It's a nice betting angle, actually, more than
really
anything else.
Yeah.
So what do we make of guys like David Nwaba, Cristiano Felicio? Nwaba looked really good yesterday.
Nwaba looks great. We get a little bit of chance to read this, a little bit, if you don't make decisions until Sunday, like a lot of leagues. But Nwaba's always had a good stat set, been a little bit of an injury risk, but great athleticism, great upside. I think he's a must-own player.
So I'm wondering if Robin Lopez is just sort of done for the year, but Holiday might resurface at some.
That was my understanding of the situation. Like, I wasn't going to drop Holiday based on you're coming off the bench. He's always been a player that's better with limited responsibilities. So he gets more efficient and he can focus in on defense a little bit more. He's got a great stat set. I wasn't ready to cut bait. But when you're telling me that there's potential for DNPs, like, I can't do it. Like, you can't start your lineup at the beginning of the week. And if you're in a daily league, you still have to deal with it, even if you can pull them out of the lineup. It's a mess. So, like, if I got to make a decision today, he's gone.
Yeah.
If, I want to wait and see 24 hours how it pans out. This is a guy who's got a top 80 value. It's a bit of a bummer, I think for
you sound like you just got sad there.
I was hacking a lung, but I'm also sad.
Yeah.
I'm both hacking a lung and I'm also sad because, I think we have a lot of Justin Holiday in these parts, and he's been great, and it is what it is.
I sold high on him in the league where I had him. I'm like thanking everything that I managed to pull that one off. What about Felicio? And I went on a podcast and I was like, look who the Bulls play coming out of the All-Star break. This dude's going to have a real rough time their first, 5 games. It's Joel. I feel like Joel Embiid, Dwight Howard is in the mix. I forget who their next game is, but it's another intimidating center. And then there's a game in there where they play some clunker team and maybe he could steal some rebounds. But he got Embiided pretty good yesterday. But is there any world where he could play 25 to 28 minutes? Bobby Portis is way better than he was.
Yeah, I don't think that Felicio's in shape enough and also productive enough to really be worth a pick. It's, I think Lauri Markkanen and Bobby Portis are going to be playing 30-plus minutes each. And, that's going to leave somebody like Felicio maybe 20, and that's not enough. So, Yeah, I'm not really optimistic about his fantasy value.
All right, let's move on to questions because I feel like I've chewed up way too much of our poor YouTubers' times with this one. The team, I was gonna bring up the Cavs, but I gotta feel like somebody's gonna end up asking about it in the chat room. Brew, you want to tell me your thoughts on the Cavs while I look up the first few questions here?
They're in the midst of a 3-game week right now, so players that I've acquired in leagues that are draft masters leagues that you don't have any ad drops, they've been really good for me. They're gonna all be low end players, outside of the top 100. And also, by the way, those guys must have gotten into one hell of a fight. They must all hate each other. They lost at home to a limping Wizards team after all of the kumbaya and getting younger and playing with pace. That's my favorite one. Like they didn't want to run before, and they really want to run now. Like there's a major difference in thinking there. I like hard baskets, instead of easy ones. Let's play slow. Now it's I think that the Cavs are going to have a real tough time, once they come to grips with the fact that the problems didn't go away. That's it's going to be rough for them. See how they handle the narrative turning back on them.
Yeah, that's fun. Boy, that team is everything they do is microscoped in such a ridiculous. Anyway,
and wait till your boys in LA, Lonzo and Isaiah, they start playing well together. And I'm not sure about his knee, by the way. I think that Lonzo's in a little bit of trouble there. But yeah, I think the narrative is going to switch around a little bit.
All right, question time, and we got a bunch of them. So, Brew, get ready to rock. It's not full lightning round, but let's call it like partial lightning round. I want to see how many of these we can get through.
I'm going lightning round, Dan.
All right, well, I'm probably not going to be ready with questions every time.
All right, I'll get long-winded then.
No, the beginning here you can go lightning round. I've lined up a few that I'm ready to go, and then there's going to be
all or nothing with me, Dan.
No, it's too fast. Trade a 2-for-2. James Harden and I almost said DeMarco Murray. That's a football player. James Harden and DeJounte Murray for Jimmy Butler and Zach LaVine.
James Harden.
Yeah, I think you got to go hard.
He's so in like an 8-cat league. He's so far out in front of everybody. It's really phenomenal.
Plus, if your league is a head-to-head playoff format, Jimmy Butler is not in a fantastic spot on that front either.
No, the Wolves are at the bottom of the pack, and you definitely want to be using the premium member schedule grid, which, by the way, is on sale for $3.99, which is less than a cost of a Subway sandwich, which may or may not have plastic in the bread, people.
Yeah, but what if the top loaf of bread, if you turned it over and it had a playoff schedule on it?
It wouldn't be as good as the Panda-built hoop ball playoff schedule.
I demand a sandwich with a playoff schedule on it next year. That's what I want for my $3.99. Should I focus on for the playoffs? This question is about the playoffs. Should I focus on trading / getting players with better schedules? What are your guys' best advice for fantasy playoff preparations? Is my answer.
Yeah. Right now, I mean, there's what other time could there be? Trade deadlines for many leagues, most leagues, if not all leagues, are like right now.
Yeah, probably have a week left.
Think about it with the Wolves. You're getting 20% less games from now till the end of the season with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the math. That's a huge number.
For Minnesota, if you can dodge that 2-game week coming up in like a week and a half, that's a big win for you. Like if your league goes to the end of the regular season, then they're actually only, I think, the second worst playoff schedule to Oklahoma City. They have a terrible last 3.5 weeks. They go only 10 times over 3.5 weeks at the end of the regular season. Minnesota, I think, has 11. I think there are a couple teams with 11 and then a bunch with 12 and 13. But if your playoffs start soon and you've got that Minnesota 2-game week built in there, you got to find a way and do it quick and be willing to trade down just a tiny bit because the other owner is going to be like, oh, sweet, Jimmy Butler. And then they're going to realize that they just lost 3 games worth because that's actually quite important. Also, keep an eye on who you're trading for. Some of those guys are rest risks. and look at their schedules as well.
Another bonus with Harden, I think he wants the MVP, and he's been stubborn about it in the past. I think he's going to go all the way to the end. I think that's going to be he'll be the fantasy MVP this year.
What happened to Rob Covington is the next question in the chat room.
It always happens to Rob Covington. He's a shooter. He shoots. And then when he's bad, he sucks. He doesn't even, he's actually, he's not, he doesn't suck. He's just not as good as he normally is. And it is what it is. Like, he'll be good when, I don't know what his current slump looks like off the top of my head. I would imagine it's pretty hefty. The rebound potential is outstanding. That's probably great news for Covington owners. Like, the bounce back is, top 20 material.
Yeah, he's try to remember, folks, that he's a guy that at the beginning of last season, and it's probably my greatest regret in fantasy sports over the better part of half a decade, he was so bad at shooting the basketball that I had to drop him.
It looks like the whole Kevin Durant Thunderstruck thing. It looks like he doesn't know how to shoot a basketball.
Man, that was weird. And it happens.
But it's just a shooter's thing. Like, if you've ever done any sort of sport where you've got to, hit a target, you can go through the ups and the downs. And he's one of those guys.
And they are severe, because he was shooting like 50% to start the year. And everybody was like, oh, damn, top 20. And now he's shot like 30% for a month.
He needs 40% shooting to be a top 60 guy. Point blank, bottom line.
That's basically where he's at. He's top 50 at 40.5% shooting on the year right now. So, just be aware that he probably wasn't going to be a top 20 guy the entire season. And unfortunately, there are very significant swings that come with Rocco. Rank the following 4 players the rest of the way. He also said, and why, but we don't really have time for the why. So you just get to rank them. Larry Nance, Scal, Jordan Bell, and Nerlens Noel are the 4 names.
Scal, Nance, Noel, and Bell.
There you go.
I'm telling you, no reasons. You just listen to me.
That's right.
Do it.
Should I move on from Courtney Lee or give him a little more time?
I'm a little worried about what they're trying to do there. I want to know more about why he played so few minutes. It's like they're accommodating the backcourt a little bit. And are they aggressively tanking? But that said, he's a must-own player.
Which side would you take in the following 2-for-2 trade? Gary Harris and Paul George is one side, Hassan Whiteside and Lou Williams is the other.
That first side was who again?
Oh, I guess it could be Tobias. I'm assuming it's Gary Harris. Well, we could even pretend and do both.
Gary Harris and who?
And Paul George. And the other side.
I want to go that side because, first of all, Gary Harris, for being a guy that you kind of are concerned about with the injuries and not really seeing big numbers, his top 30 value is pretty impressive. And he's going to take a hit here a little bit with Millsap coming back. But the piece here is Paul George. He alone makes the deal, I think, worth it on his end. So
what if it was Tobias Harris? Would it still be the Paul George side?
Pretty
fair.
It's tempting because you worry about Whiteside's health, but he's surviving it. And so, help me remember again, the other piece on the Whiteside side was
Lou Williams.
Yeah. Lou Williams. It's too much there. It's 2 top 20 guys. I think Williams has the potential to fall back a little bit just based on these other guys have to take, some of the scoring burden off of him. It just seems unreasonable that he keeps at that rate, but he's done it all year. That said, I want to have Paul George 9 times out of 10, with the top 15 safety right there. No worry about Whiteside's injury. No worry about nothing, that's that and Gary Harris or Tobias Harris. I want the Paul George side.
Any Harris. He'll take any Harris you got. Rudy Gay or Kyle Anderson rest of season?
Oh, this one's easy. It's Kyle Anderson. This is another player that's going to get a lot of credit, as a waiver wire pickup of the year candidate, because of the value that he's brought and the sneakiness of it. I don't think he'll be the waiver wire pickup of the year. That'll be Spencer Dinwiddie. But that's, with no Kawhi, he's going to be a top 80 guy the rest of the way.
Why are coaches giving minutes to Dante Cunningham?
It was, he was productive, man.
Yeah.
But first game coming back from the All-Star break, a player like that's looking to make a name, it's, that makes sense, but they're giving it to him just because he's coaches like players like that. They can point to them, look at the effort and, hey, play the right way, all that type of stuff. But yeah, it doesn't make a ton of sense though. And I'm not picking up Dante Cunningham.
No, I don't think many of us are. Why are you low on Jamal Murray? Right now he's ranked 63rd. I doubt Millsap hurts him that much, especially with Paul still out another week or two and only 6 weeks left.
Jamal Murray's had the convergence of all of the best case stuff that you could have. He started the season with 3 point guards. One was sent off. The second one was just sent off. He got the Paul Millsap injury. He's shooting at a really unprecedented rate, especially from the foul line. It's really impressive. So he's kind of eschewed all metrics, which is good news for his future. But that said, he's still got massive, concerns in steals and blocks. And when you bring back Paul Millsap, it's not just Murray that's going to struggle. They're going to be, the whole team, Nikola Jokic included, they're all going to take a good 5 games to get him, integrated. And even in that scenario or after they're playing well, that's going to hurt Jamal Murray. Volume is what's made him what he is. And he's not going to have that volume. So I kind of felt like I was pretty bullish on that Murray rank, to be honest. That stat set gets light really, really quick. And you've seen that even at times, when the team has gotten healthier. You see these games where it's 13 points, 2 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal, maybe a 3 or 2. And that's, that gets to be top 125, top 150, or even worse. That gets to be that very quickly. So yeah, I'm basically, I'll probably just refute the statement that Paul Millsap's not going to have any impact on him. I think Paul Millsap could have a great impact on him. Well, I'm bullish on that Murray rank.
Any chance Josh Hart can hold value with IT and Lonzo both healthy?
I'm going to go with no, because you still got KCP there. And that makes it a little too tough.
How far apart are Russell Westbrook and Victor Oladipo in your book?
Not far at all. I'm actually asking myself, can Russ be better than Oladipo? Russ can tank, go down to the top 24 range really quick when the shooting gets bad. And Paul George has taken a lot of shots from him. His shots are way down. So I think that Oladipo's kind of got a clear runway for a massive finish. Top 12 finish. I would personally rather own Oladipo than Russell Westbrook. So it's close. It's real close. But it's, I just think Oladipo's got the easier path.
Let's see. Who should I cut of the following 4 players? There was a long sentence that led to the question. Who is the worst of these 4 guys? It says Kelly, and then it says Oubre. I'm assuming that's Kelly Olynyk is one, and then Kelly Oubre is another, because there's a comma separating them. So let's go with Olynyk, Oubre, Portis, and Marquise Chris. Who's the cut?
So we're looking at Olynyk, Oubre, Chris, and Portis.
Yes, young Robert Portis.
Yes, probably Olynyk there. Olenek, I'm worried about the shoulder. I mean, he's had shoulder issues, and it is what it is. So, when he returns, they really like him. They want to play him, and they want him to even lead the fourth quarter minutes. But it's if you got to cut one, I mean, Oubre's got at least 8 to 10 more games without John Wall around, and he's poised to take the production. So I kind of want to go with Oubre there over the guy that might have a serious shoulder injury.
Let's see. Oops, I think I may have cut off the.
It sucks because Olenek been so good this year, and it's a bummer. We got him everywhere.
This one. There were 2 more names on that list that potentially could have been on your cut list, and they went into a second post. Dwayne Dedmon and John Henson. Would either of them be in front of Olenek as your cut?
Yeah, I'm thinking Henson would. I mean, Henson could survive, but there's just not that much upside there. So, like, why really, why break your neck trying to keep that on a roster? As far as Jabari Parker, when he gets fully up to speed, I think that Henson could be looking at like 18 to 21 minutes per game. I think that's on the wrong side of the top 150 mark. So to me, I'd rather take a gamble that Olenek's shoulder keeps him out another couple games, and then he gets back into the flow of things. And who knows, maybe he even benefits from another injury around him, or maybe they decide that Bam's not ready. They got to settle on a playoff roster. As long as he's not hurt, Olenek's in that playoff rotation. So do they then scale it back and pull a guy like Bam out? I've actually backed off my Bam positions, which I just think he's run out of runway for this season. But like next year, he's going to be on a lot of sleeper lists.
How much rope should I give Larry Nance Jr.?
Yeah, give him all the rope in the world as long as he's not hurt. He's a top 100 guy. He is what he is.
You like him more than Rudy Gay?
Oh yeah. I don't know. I mean, man, look, the Spurs are going to be like the 3 seed, which is hilarious.
Amazing.
But like major Achilles injury, and yeah, this injury is separate, but it's like, the 2 are combined is a very plausible thing. We just don't know what we're going to get out of Rudy, and asking him to come back in and be good is asking quite a bit. We'll see how that goes here. But yeah, I don't know. I think Rudy, like top 125, would be the rating there.
I traded Jeff Teague for Rob Covington head-to-head with late playoffs. I gained 3 games in the playoffs. How'd I do?
You're good.
Yeah, I agree.
You're good. I mean, Teague's like a top 50, 60, 70 guy. So
you basically just swapped similarly valued guys.
And you get off this weird thing where, like, is Tyus Jones going to cut into his minutes? That's always like a tiny question, I think, there. And that would push Teague back a little further. Teague hasn't really... Tibbs might not like Teague. It's the only thing that makes sense to me, because he normally plays them a ton, but if he doesn't, he doesn't like you.
Let's see here. What's the next one on the list? I'm trying to make sure I get to the questions. Kelly Oubre versus Mario Hezonja rest of season.
Super Mario sitting there trying to have fantasy value. That's good for him.
Yeah. You think he can?
I think he can, but who's the other guy again? It was
Kelly Oubre Jr.
Yeah, it was Oubre. It's funny. I got this brain fart now with Oubre because he showed up in our site redevelopment, which you haven't even brought up on this podcast, Dan.
I know.
This post, it was when Kelly Oubre got into the fight with Kelly Olynyk, and it was from last year. It just kept showing up. Like, we couldn't get rid of it. And it was really easy to get rid of. But so I thought that I was in my show yesterday. I thought, like, is Oubre suspended for some reason? Like, I can't figure out why I think Oubre's suspended. Anyway, no, I take Oubre. Easy.
All right, let's go lightning round here because it's about 12:15 on the left coast. I want to make sure we talk about the site, which is so fresh and so clean. Yeah, there are no sites that are as dope as hoop ball. Hoop ball, get your ball hooped. Let's see. Kelly Oubre versus Scal the rest of the way. Who do you like?
Give me Scal.
Brooke Lopez, Buddy Hield. We already know your opinion on Buddy Hield. Are they stream worthy or are they hold worthy? Or
Buddy Hield. Let's just be clear, people. I got Buddy Hield at like top 67 or something in the B150, right next to. I think I got Bogdan right above him. This is not stream territory. This is like get your offers in before it's obvious territory.
Who was the other guy I just asked about? I deleted the question after I asked it. Oh, Brooke Lopez.
I think I'm off the Brooke Lopez thing. I mean, soon Zubac is going to play. Zubac, by the way, who, like, you're looking for a pick and roll, you know, Isaiah and him they're gonna be a lot of buckets. Because Zubac runs for the weak side glass. That's been the thing that people don't understand about Isaiah is because he can get into the lane. The big man that likes to go get the rebounds is going to have a great time playing with him. So Zubac is going to be a pickup here. Just a question of when.
Kevin Love, still about a month out. Would you grab him in a head-to-head playoff format?
You can grab him in a roto format, let alone a head-to-head playoff format. So I think that there's money on the table there. So yeah. I mean, it's all roster. I'm pretty sure Love got picked up everywhere in my leagues, but it's going to be probably about a 10-game run for him, 10 to 12, maybe 15-game run. Keep in mind that I think he could beat his timetable back.
If you had to drop one of the following two guys, which one would you drop? Jabari Parker or Mario Hezonja?
I'd drop Parker. I don't think Parker's having a big season. I mean, unless they take 5 games at the end of the year, they're like, hey, we're going to make this all about him because we need him in the playoffs. But there's just too many good players there. He's on a minutes restriction. It's just not enough there. Give me Super Mario. Holy crap.
Would you drop? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was like, how times have changed. Mario Hezonja. My God. Yeah.
Would you drop TJ McConnell or J.R. Smith for Trey Burke, or would you keep those two guys?
I'd drop J.R. Smith for Trey Burke, but not McConnell.
Jonathan Simmons, is he still worth a hold?
Yeah. But, I mean, don't hesitate to move on a hot free agent.
Victor Oladipo and Andre Drummond is one side of a trade. Kevin Durant is the other. Which side do you like?
Kevin Durant.
KD, what a monster these days. Pretty cool to see Steph fully rested coming out of the All-Star break. Good gracious. Should I try to move Isaiah Thomas when he has a couple good games?
No, and that's one of the best buy lows in the league right now.
Why is Blake Griffin overrated? This feels like a difficult one to make a lightning round thing. I think because he jumps real high, right?
No, he doesn't jump high anymore. He's a perimeter big man. Doesn't put much pressure on the defense.
Paul Millsap, is he worth stashing right now? I can answer this one. The answer is a resounding yes, because they said back by early March, and he's had 2 practices already. Early March is 6 days from now. February short.
He's playing pretty soon, I think.
Rondae Hollis Jefferson, are you at all concerned with Dante Cunningham soaking up minutes now?
No. I think the last report I saw is hopeful to play on Monday.
There you go. I just moved Wiggins for Redick in a head-to-head format. How'd I do?
You done well, son. You done well.
Get out from under his troublesome numbers and get yourself a few extra games, too. Philly's got an awesome playoff schedule. I have Devin Booker in 3 out of 5 leagues. Should I be scared of?
You know what? No, I think because they got so heckled for the tanking of the Eric Bledsoe situation. And look, I think that you guys have heard this before. I've been critical on the Suns, and I think that pickup of Elfrid Payton is going to make that team have an identity. Also, And as I deal with my own neck injury, knowing that they can be very serious, like this neck thing for Tyson Chandler might be the end of him. So I picked up Alex Len all over the place over the weekend, kind of on a lark, and even saw an article since that pickup where he isn't mentioned by the local press, which is basically in these small towns, what the coaches and the management do is they go to the local press and they just go like, this is our thing. And then it gets printed in the local press. And Len's not in that as like guy that needs to play down the stretch. And you're sitting there thinking, okay, there's nothing that they don't want Len to do anything. Like they don't care he's on his way out. They're just not going to feed him minutes, and that's that. Now with this Tyson Chandler thing, it's really I think Len's a must-own player. I'm not sure he's going to produce, but give the guy 27 minutes, and he kind of almost has to. Plus, what if? And I think that the Peyton is the thing that brings it all together, because he's such a good garbage time kind of an asset. If you ever watched him in the Team USA scrimmages, like he just looked like one of the better players on the floor because he's really fast in the transition game, and he's big bodied. So like in the transition game, you have to respect him. And so he can get people involved. But when you get into a half court set and you get into the defensive stuff, there's obviously issues there, which would just help the pace of the game. I think that they're going to be good in Phoenix. So like Marquise Chris must own, Dragon Bender must own. I think that Warren is going to be fine. I think Booker is going to be fine. And I think Peyton's going to be great. Like the Suns are actually a good fantasy team now. So again, who would have thought it?
Torian Prince versus Slow-Mo rest of season.
I'm going to go with Prince still. And I know that Prince is, kind of a tough one just because the struggles heading into the break, but the break will be good for him. He's kind of an ornery fella where like he was even asked if he needed the break, and he's like, I don't need no break. And yeah, you needed a break. And he's a little bit aloof on the floor. And I think that these are all things that Coach Bud is trying to kind of hammer into him. But I think that, there is a risk that Kawhi comes back, which would completely wipe Anderson's, value. And even if he doesn't, top 80 is still in the ballpark of Prince. And I still think Prince has another gear that he can get to. We've seen flashes of what his game can be. And then like a lot of young players, he kind of disappears when the going gets rough. He had a finger injury. I don't think he's accustomed to playing the types of minutes that he's played. Put in a big week-long break in there, and whole kind of the teams aren't going to get up to play the Hawks. Like this could be very good for Prince. So I'm going to take Prince, and I'm not as down on Prince as practically everybody, I would say.
Gary Harris versus Nico Mirotic rest of season.
Oh, give me the Nico love.
Yeah,
the Nico love, man.
Talking about,
my God.
We
don't worry about injuries. I mean, if anything, something happens to Anthony Davis, and it's like all Nico all the time, 32 minutes of Nico. Like he's got top in that scenario, he's got top 20 potential. Like this is good. This is real good.
Listen, I was high as hell on Nico. Everybody knows that I set up shop with a camera outside his window this year. But
I got him on every team. So like it's good. It's real good.
In my magical universe, I still didn't think he was going to be a top 40 guy. So I'd love to take all the credit in the world on Nico.
I didn't expect his margin to be this. Like I had him, 2 to 3 rounds ahead of his ADP, and that was enough for me to get him everywhere.
I had him like,
but I didn't, and I listed all the potential upsides. Like he's heavier, he's better defender, he's going to get higher percentage shots, and even I was not ready for this.
Yeah, this has been sweet. If this season was punchless, well, we'd all be rolling. Bruski Hoopball version 1.2 is here. I need people to go look at it. It is so.
They're not gonna have any problem. I think it's just gonna like moth to the flame, burned by the fire. What is it? My love is blind. Let me see your desire. Is that the right Janet Jackson quote?
I don't know.
Because that's the way love goes. I love it. I love the new website, man. I cannot get enough of it. It's
so pretty. It's so pretty.
First of all, Thomas Serio and Ryan Peffers are two main developers who worked on it. If you get a chance, seek them out in the forums, Twitter. It's at Thomas, Thomas, Serio, Serio. And then for Ryan Peffers, it's Peff, Peffedu. Kind of easy to remember. And just say thank you. Like they worked at it tirelessly, and really now we have a site that I really, really like to be on. And it's only getting better. We actually have improvements, not just like down the road, like really soon in our forums. That's our next piece of the project. We got a lot of cleanup of, so there's stuff that's not, working or whatever, but it's like this site is the first step towards a lot of different things that we're doing. And I'm just thrilled to have been a part of the development process. And this last week has definitely been a little bit, I think when we released, I went to bed at 6 a.m., which was kind of how things used to roll a couple of years back. But it's great. I look at the blurb feed. It's so much easier to read. And, it's really highlighting directions that we're moving in as well with the team coverage and, pods and hangouts and the premium offerings that they're building the foundation of hoopball. I'm still a little bit in a pinch me moment, but it's the culmination of a lot of people's hard work. So not just those two guys, but hoopballers kind of around the water coolers, 50 of us. And
you guys have
everybody's played a little bit of a part in it.
This is it's such a small thing, but it's actually, it's kind of cool. If you hover your mouse over any of the images on the hoopball page, they actually move a tiny bit. That's a fun little thing you guys included. I didn't even notice that until today. I mean, the blurb feed is there's so many big changes, but the blurb feed is so easy to read, and it was kind of aggressive on the old iteration, and it's much more relaxed. You've got color codes. You got the team names easy to find. I love it. The changes.
One thing when you start an endeavor like this is you can't worry about getting it perfect. You have to focus on content. Like content being the best at fantasy analysis. People come for the coverage, and they don't care so much that it's not what you think it would be. And even if you start the project and you say to somebody, I got an unlimited budget and I want you to, build me the best thing, like you still don't really know what you want. Like you've got to go through the iterations. You got to go through kind of the long, hard road of it all. And so bringing it all together into this particular release, we call it 1.2 because 2.0 will actually bring in player profiles, statistics, and will be the foundation for a lot that's coming through the pipeline. And then we'll be looking at 3.0, which is much more grand in scale. It's a big deal, the 3.0 site, but the 2.0 site will have all of those things that I mentioned and tools and really pave the way for not just monetization of the website, but really the introduction of hoopball to a larger audience. Right now it's the diehards. It's the people that have been with us since day one, but getting it sort of ready for the world. And that whole step is going to be fascinating. And we won't think it's real. We'll be just like, well, what happened here? But this particular iteration for me, I'm just really proud of the guys. And I just I love looking at it. So I'm just thrilled to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Please do, everyone. Go to hoop-ball.com. Check out the new look. Hoopball version 1.2 is upon us. You've got fantasy news blurbs. You got a media wall on the front page. You got podcasts and chats separated into sort of like a subheading. You've got team coverages. You've got fantasy feed. Gorgeous. Go look at it. hoop-ball.com. Check it out.
Seriously, thank those guys. Those guys put in a lot of work. I mean, like every night for the last couple months, just grinding. So if you see them on Twitter or if you have a message in the forums, believe me, those little messages, they mean the world to us. And I can't say enough about those two guys that got us through that.
Yeah, big ups. God, it's so clean. I love it. He is Aaron Bruski. I am Dan Besbris. Oh, hey, we got one question to slip in right before we sign off. For those that were comfortable enough to sit through us gushing about hoop ball, rank the following 3 players, and then we're signing off immediately after you answer that question. He's Aaron Bruski. I'm Dan Besbris. We got a show. He's got a waiver show on Sunday. We got a weekly lineup show on Monday. We'll be back with an actual reverse chronological lightning round show for this podcast on Monday since games are back again. And to take us out, Bruski, rank the following 3 players: Buddy Hield, David Nwaba, and Dwight Powell. And then say goodbye to everyone.
Hield, Nwaba, and Powell. Bye, everybody. I'm guessing you clicked the button.